allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Call the roll, please.
Here.
Commissioner West.
Here.
Commissioner Schulte.
Here.
Commissioner Meisner.
Here.
Commissioner Gamache.
Here.
Commissioner Reinert.
Here.
And with that, now that we've called the roll, let's go ahead and introduce our newest commissioner from District 6. Welcome, Commissioner Reinert. Would you like to say a few words?
Just a few, I guess. Just for those that are out of my area, just to let you know, my name is Jeff Reinert. Been on the City Council in Lino Lakes for 20 years, a little experience before getting here. And just looking forward to getting to know all the departments better than I know them now and getting to work. So thank you, Sheriff.
Thank you, Commissioner Reinert, and welcome to the team. Next, we will look for approval of tax claims and abatements. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Moved by Commissioner Look, second by Commissioner West. Any discussion? Seeing none, this is a roll call vote.
Commissioner West.
Aye.
Commissioner Schulte.
Aye.
Commissioner Meisner.
Aye.
Commissioner Gamache.
Aye.
Commissioner Reinert.
Aye.
Commissioner Look.
And that item passes. Next, we will consider accepting the regular claims paid over $500 for the period ending February 14th, 2020, and purchase card claims paid for the period ending February 14th, 2020. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Moved by Commissioner Gamache. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Look. And is there any further discussion? I will just point out for Commissioner Reinert that that list that we're talking about is available in your Dropbox under claims. So you can look at that list anytime you want. It's just a matter of course of what we do here. Any further discussion? Seeing none, this is a roll call vote.
Commissioner West.
Aye.
Commissioner Schulte.
Aye.
Commissioner Meisner.
Aye.
Commissioner Gamache. Commissioner Reinert.
Aye.
Commissioner Look.
Aye.
And item 5 passes. Next, we'll look for approval of the minutes from February 11th of this year, County Board meeting minutes. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Commissioner Meisner, second by Commissioner Look. Any other corrections, deletions, additions? Seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed? That passes unanimously. Next, we're going to move to Chair's remarks. We have one item for you today, and it's in reference to an aspect of our state that's ingrained in the fiber of this area. It's almost as Minnesotan as sitting on the edge of a lake and casting a line in the water during the summertime or digging into a hearty hot dish in the winter. Yes, I'm talking about mosquitoes. Those irritating, very prevalent residents of our state that will need to be controlled in the coming months. These pests might not be on our minds right now as the current landscape of mix and snow and slush, but they are always on the minds of Metropolitan Mosquito Control District staff. Commissioner West, our liaison to this agency, will now lead our discussion and introduce our guests.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. It's been my honor and privilege to serve on the Metropolitan Mosquito Control District Commission. Controlling mosquito populations in our state, as you know, is not an easy job, as these pests are quite resilient. Beyond being bothersome, mosquitoes are disease vectors, so it's important to lessen their numbers. The MMCD works diligently to reduce the risk of mosquito-borne disease through monitoring and control, along with public education. Joining us today is Dr. Stephen Manweiler, Executive Director of Metropolitan Mosquito Control District. He's going to tell us more about their mission, their priorities for this coming year, and any trends. Dr. Manweiler, thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner West. Thank you for the warm welcome. Before I start, I'd like to introduce a couple of other staff members who've come along with me. The first is, you may remember in recent years, our public affairs coordinator, Mike McLean, would always accompany me. Mike retired last September, And so we were fortunate enough to find his replacement last July to give the two of them a couple of months together for a little knowledge transfer. And since then, Alex Carlson has really jumped in full steam. And you'll also see, I'm going to be very spoiled because the presentation is reformatted and revamped from past years, and it's really Alex's creativity that's done that. I'd also like to introduce Dave Dirkswager, who leads the facility that provides service to Anoka County. If there's any questions about any particular service that we provided, Dave may know the particulars if I don't. With that, I've also been told I have 10 minutes, so I'm going to go through a lot of stuff pretty quickly and just try to give you a brief overview. But the end, which is some things that we plan to do this year and some challenges we're facing this year, I'll spend a little bit more time with. I'd like to talk a little bit about the governance, the levy and budget for this year. Briefly, mosquito biology and control. If you understand the biology of the mosquitoes, you can understand how the control program is designed and why it works the way it does. A bit about disease prevention, and Alex added this year a summary of services we provided to Anoka County last year. You've always received an update that's got a lot of detail. This is a very large-scale summary, and then finally some plans for 2020. We were created in 1958 as a joint powers agreement between the 7 counties that you see depicted here on the right. Our board includes 18 county commissioners from the 7 counties, and all I have to say is I really appreciate the support that our board provides. It's a fun commission. Yes, we tackle some difficult problems, but we've got a lot of really good ideas and a lot of really good problem solvers. We provide service to about 3 million people. We have databases that include 70,000 wetland habitats and 30,000 woodland habitats. Being able to link information about which mosquitoes are in which of those habitats at what time allows us to do our job more efficiently. Here's our commission for 2020. And we only had one change in Washington County. Lisa White joined. Fran Mirren is now Lisa's alternate. This shows the budget on the bottom row. Basically, the 2019 budget and the 2020 budget. There was a 1% increase in our budget for 2020. If you go to the second row from the top, that's the amount levied in 2019 and 2020. If you look in the rightmost column, you can see that there was a 2% increase in the amount levied. The line between the amount levied and the budget shows the contribution made by Anoka County. And then finally at the top, our max levy has increased by 7%. What we try to do is levy enough, get enough resources to deliver enough services to the majority of the citizens and levy no more than that. So there's a lot of debate about what is enough, but it's a very healthy debate that our commission has with us. Moving on to the control program. The mosquito life cycle, if you understand that, you can understand the control. Mosquitoes develop in it's called complete metamorphosis. If you think about how a butterfly develops from egg to a larva to a pupa or chrysalis or cocoon to an adult, mosquitoes develop the same way. The eggs are either laid in moist soil, where they remain until the area floods, then they hatch, or they're laid on the water, and they hatch in the water. The larvae are in the water. Our control program is primarily a larval control program. Part of the reason is the larvae can't get away. If we know where they are, then it's easier to control them. In the summer, the mosquitoes start as an egg, emerge into a larva. 5 to 6 days later, they can become a pupa. They're a pupa for about 1 to 2 days. then they emerge as in adults. And what that means is during the summer, we don't have very much time to deal with controlling larval mosquitoes. So when we get a big rain, there's a lot of work that goes on within those first 3 to 4 days to get to 20, 30,000 acres worth of wetlands to control the mosquitoes. The take-home message from this slide is mosquitoes are very adept at utilizing all sorts of different wetlands for their control or their development. And different species are found in different places at different time. We do a lot of surveillance, larval surveillance, in all these types of either wetlands or container habitats. So we know which species are where and when, and then we can make decisions about the best way to control them. The take-home message from this slide is the same. Don't worry about all the names. There's really two things here. First, there are lots of different species. They all have their own biology. And then if you look at the lower left, you can see 6 different diseases transmitted by various mosquitoes. And each one of those has its own biology. It involves not only the mosquito, but it involves some other things as well. Larval control is about 90% of our program. We use 3 biological control materials. BTI and BS are 2 bacteria that are specific to mosquitoes. Spinosad comes from another bacterium, and the way it's formulated makes it specific to mosquito larvae. Methoprene is a little bit different in that it's a chemical analog of a hormone that controls development from the larva to the pupa. Methoprene disrupts that development, and that's how methoprene controls mosquitoes. Integrated control relies on surveillance and multiple layers of control. Larval control is our main layer of control, but we augment that with adult control, and we use synthetic pyrethroids, which natural pyrethrum is an insecticidal chemical that is in certain species of chrysanthemum flowers. It's been known since the 19th century. Synthetic pyrethroids are similar chemicals that have different characteristics. The chemicals we use don't last very long in the environment, so we can put them out, they do their job, and they go away. There are different versions that if you need them to last a lot longer, you could use. But suffice it to say, we use various kinds of larval surveillance to target larval control, and we use various kinds of adult surveillance to target adult control. When you talk about mosquito-borne disease, I'm going to go through 3 of them very briefly. West Nile virus, everybody's familiar with West Nile virus. It's been in the state since 2002. There are 4 different species of mosquitoes that are involved in transmission of West Nile virus. You don't need to remember the name. All you need to remember is the top 2 transmit it. It's a disease of birds. And so the top 2, pipiens and restuans, transmit it from bird to bird. The bottom 2, Salinarius and Tarsalis, will feed on birds and will also feed on people. So those are the 2 that bring it to people. If our surveillance can show us where those mosquitoes are, then we have a better idea of the risk of West Nile virus, and we can take steps to lower that risk. Lacrosse encephalitis is another very rare disease transmitted by a container breeding mosquito that's associated with tires. That's why the district does everything it can to get rid of tires, to educate people to dump out their bird baths, make sure they don't have standing water. Even plugged rain gutters can be a perfect place for this mosquito to develop. There are 2 exotic species, one which is established in the district now, Aedes japonicus, and another one which shows up from time to time but hasn't been able to survive the winter yet, that also transmit the disease. They breed and develop in similar kinds of places. This disease is primarily a disease of chipmunks or squirrels or raccoons, but the mosquitoes are infected by feeding on an infected squirrel or chipmunk and then bite a person. It's primarily a disease of children, and it can have very severe consequences. Finally, the new kid on the town, well, relatively new is Jamestown Canyon, and it's associated with various species of mosquitoes. It's also associated with mosquitoes that are out and about earlier in the season. La Crosse and West Nile tend to be August, September diseases, whereas Jamestown Canyon can be all season. And the district is working with our health department, with Michigan State University, University of Minnesota, a group called the Center of Excellence for Vector Control, which is based in Madison, Wisconsin, at the University of Wisconsin, to figure out which species of mosquitoes are important in the transmission. And we already know a whole host of these species, where the larvae develop and where to find the adults, as more information comes in about which of the adults are important in transmitting. Means we can target our larval and adult control more specifically. This shows you briefly the number of cases in Minnesota and within the district. Last year, well, actually in 2018 and 2019. 2019 was a relatively low mosquito-borne disease incident year. La Crosse, there were no cases in Minnesota or in the district either of those years. West Nile, there were a lot of cases in 2018, far fewer cases in 2019. Jamestown Canyon, on the other hand, is, even though there aren't very many cases, when you consider 13 cases out of 3 million people, it's not very many cases. It used to be 2 or 1. It's increasing all over the United States, and everybody's trying to figure out why. The district doesn't only provide mosquito control. In the 1980s, the legislature mandated that we control ticks. There's no cost-effective, environmentally friendly way to control ticks. So the way we meet that mandate is by monitoring the ticks. Experts got together 25 years ago and figured out, since the ticks first feed on rodents before they get on people, if you trap the rodents, it gives you an idea of which stages of the ticks are out at what time during the season and how abundant are they. We also use our staff as another surveillance method. We've trained our staff to protect themselves, but if they find ticks on themselves, they collect the ticks and bring them back, and our experts identify them. So we've got a measure of what's on the rodents, and we've also got a measure of what's attacking our staff, so then we can get the message out. And that's when Alex gets the message out through every avenue that he has available to him. Public education is our primary way of protecting the public here. We also control biting gnats or black flies that primarily breed in the large rivers. There are a couple of species that come out in small streams early in the year. We have about a 2-week control window for those, and then for the rest of the summer we make treatments in the Rum, Crow, Mississippi, and Minnesota rivers. We use a different version of BTI to control those. Here's the Anoka County summary that Alex put together. The main thing here is, if you look at larval mosquito control, you'll see 58,000 acres. District-wide, we treated about 200,000 acres. You all have amongst the greatest amount and number of wetlands of the 7 counties. So that's part of what accounts for this. What we try to do as a district is target the resources to the areas where the mosquitoes are, because some of these mosquitoes can fly 20, 30 miles. So it helps everybody. Finally, some plans for 2020. The first one is one we all work with every year, managing our budget and our expenditures, and do it in the most cost-effective way possible. We were created as a disease risk reduction organization, and that remains one of our primary services, one of our primary goals. And in a lot of cases, the disease vectors are in with all the other mosquitoes. So if you control, when you control disease vectors, you control the others, and vice versa. In 2014 to 2016, we had 3 heavy expenditure years. A lot of rain, a lot of service. We dipped into our reserves. Starting in 2017, we were working to build those reserves back up. So we scaled back some of our services, especially in the outer areas. We have the district divided into 2 zones, and Priority 1 zone is where 95% of the people live, so we devote most of our larval control resources to Priority 1 zone, and then we devote adult control to the entire district, and we devote the surveillance to the entire district. We are in the process of building more adult control back into the outer areas. Our financial situation has become good enough that we're going to be able to begin to restore some of those things. We also had a very bad situation with river flooding last year. Normally our large river blackfly control starts in May. Because of the flooding, we weren't able to start it until the middle of June. It was unsafe to go in the river. We couldn't do our surveillance. And we weren't the only ones hampered. Everybody was hampered. And consequently, the blackflies were terrible last year in June and early July. We have a plan this year. I'm going to go into a lot more detail tomorrow. I don't have time this morning, but as to how to approach that. We work with the Department of Natural Resources very closely about blackfly control. They give us a permit to put BTI into the rivers, and they're being very flexible with us this year. So if the rivers are high again, we have a plan on how to deal with it and how to have the resources to deal with it. Finally, like everybody who hires seasonal staff, we have had a difficult time in recent years attracting seasonal staff, especially early in the season. And a year ago, a whole group of staff got together and had a lot of different new ideas about how to reach other groups of people. How do you get your message out and attract more people? Alex has been integral in taking some of the ideas developed by that troop and getting the message out, and we're starting to have some luck. It's not going to be a silver bullet, but this is going to be a big thing for us for a long time. And I'm probably speaking to the converted when I'm sure if you hire seasonal staff or your departments that do are having the same issues. So I hope I didn't use too much of my time. We have a little time for question, but I'll end by saying please feel free to contact me or Alex or anybody at the district if you have questions, concerns, whatever, and we'll do whatever we can to provide you the information you need.
Questions for Dr. Manweiler? Commissioner Meisner.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Well, first of all, thank you for being here. I appreciate this update every year. And before I came on this committee, I mean, I really did think of mosquitoes more as of a nuisance control, but me being educated about the public health is super important. And I did have one question for you, Dr. Manweiler, because I know that in Anoka County, we have quite a few horse owners as well, and I can't remember what disease has been either is currently being addressed right now that are affecting horses specifically. I couldn't remember if they were any of the ones you talked about or something different.
Mr. Chair, Commissioner Meisner, as far as horse diseases go, West Nile virus is probably the biggest concern, and by vaccinating horses, you can pretty much mitigate that. The other one, though, you may have heard of is Eastern equine encephalitis, which
Yes.
There were 2 horse cases in Minnesota, and there were also some birds, grouse, that had triple E in them. And triple E is a lot easier to say than Eastern equine encephalitis, so that's what I'm going to refer to it as afterward. In Michigan, though, they had a big human outbreak of triple E. The East Coast did as well. There are vaccines for triple E as well for horses, and we're not really sure. The vector mosquito is very uncommon in Minnesota, much more common in Michigan and places like Massachusetts, Rhode Island, New Jersey, getting down into Florida. But that's a disease that also has it has a primary vector and then it has others that carry it. We have a lot of the others, so we're doing a lot of work to address which one of those might be important. The Center of Excellence, by the way, is taking a big lead on dealing with triple E.
Thank you. That is the one I was thinking about because it was unique and then it was being looked at. Yeah, thank you.
Commissioner Gamache.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Dr. Manweiler, for once again, the great report. You're talking about seasonal workers was always an issue. I was curious, do we have any openings, internships, anything like that might be out there as well? I was having a discussion with one of our residents out in the outside room before the meeting, and we were talking about this, that has some people, young people that might be interested, and had told them to watch the program today or watch it on video later on. But you may want to talk to Wes before you leave regarding that, if Alex has any time, if there is a program.
Mr. Chair, Commissioner Gamache, it's kind of a limited internship. There are a lot of the schools that have wanted internships, and what they want out of the internship is for the intern to get the kind of experience they would as a seasonal employee. And so long as we don't have to do a lot of grading or anything like that, usually in this case what it is, the agency, school, whatever, reviews what the job duties of a seasonal position are. If they then agree, yeah, that satisfies the needs of the internship, then those people can apply. If they're hired as seasonal employees for us, then we work with them and their school to document that, yes, these are the kinds of things they are being trained to do. And it's not that we give report cards or anything, it's basically we just verify it. We can do a lot of that. We have had special internships in the past where somebody came and did a research project or whatever. Most of those, we don't have the facility to pay people, so because of our budget limitations. A lot of times those also involve somebody with an advanced degree overseeing the experimental design and all of that. We don't do that very often for obvious reasons. But like I say, talk to us because there may be something we can work out.
Commissioner Reiner.
Yeah, Mr. Chair. So I don't have a question about the report specifically about the access to it. The information we have here isn't including all the information you have on this, and I was wondering if it is available, this slide deck in a PDF, either online or maybe can be emailed to the commissioners for future reference.
Mr. Chair, Commissioner Reinert, we'd be happy to email. Our website has a lot of information on it. Some of what you're requesting may already be there. On the other hand, if you would like a copy of this presentation or other information, background information about the district, just contact us. Let's discuss what you're interested in, and we'll figure out the best way to provide it to you.
All right, thank you.
Well, Dr. Manweiler, thank you for being here and for your report, and thank you for the work your team does every day. It's not always easy to think about mosquitoes when it's 30 degrees outside and snow and ice, but we know it's important, and I think come this summer when we are swatting a few mosquitoes, we'll be thankful that we're not swarmed by mosquitoes, particularly knowing that they're not just a nuisance, but that they're a public health risk if they're not treated properly. So thank you again for what you and your team do, and good luck in this coming season.
Commissioner Schulte, thank you very much. Thanks for having us. These are always fun to do. So.
Thank you. And with that, we will move on to committee reports, and we will start with the Management Committee. Commissioner West.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The first item is 1A. It's a new and it's restructure in administration at the Medical Examiner's Office. It's going from a 0.6 FTE Office Investigator Grade 10 to a 1 FTE Office Investigator Grade 10. And they're just having more cases, and this person is able to prepare the situation that the doctors come to in the morning and just create efficiency.
Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Motion by Commissioner Gamache. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Meisner. Further discussion? Seeing none, this is a roll call vote.
Commissioner Schulte,
Aye.
Commissioner Meisner,
Aye.
Commissioner Gamache, Commissioner Reinert,
Aye.
Commissioner Look,
Aye.
Commissioner West.
Aye.
And that one passes.
The next one, B, is a restructure, fill, and transportation. It's going from a 1 FTE right-of-way support specialist grade 9, or B9, to a 1 FTE right-of-way specialist grade 12. And again, this employee will have a little higher level skill that is, they can do more things in the need of right-of-way.
Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Motion by Commissioner Look,
Second.
second by Commissioner Gamache. Further discussion? Commissioner Meisner.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Well, just commentary, because I remember at this meeting, the efficiencies that this particular person or department for right-of-way has saved quite a bit of money and just much more efficient, so I'm thankful for that.
Thank you. Any further comment? Seeing none, this is a roll call vote.
Commissioner Meisner,
Aye.
Commissioner Gamache,
Aye.
Commissioner Reinert,
Aye.
Commissioner Look,
Aye.
Commissioner West,
Aye.
Commissioner Schulte.
Aye.
And the last item is adopting Resolution 2020-M1 relating to interim appointment of Patty Hetrick as the Library Director of Anoka County.
As a reminder, this is the additional agenda item, so it'll be a separate from the management report that you have in your packet. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
There's a motion by Commissioner Reinert. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner West. Further discussion? Commissioner Gamache.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Excited that Patty had stepped up for this position, moving from her current role to the library director, as we have lost our previous library director, Maggie Snow, moved on to the University of Minnesota in a very good role for her. I'm very excited for her and the opportunities that she has there. But this gives us an opportunity with Patty to take care of some issues of bringing the library in with the rest of our staff, or the rest of our finance area, plus with things like building maintenance, just some different things within an MOU that we had signed back in 2004. So this is a good opportunity, that Patty has some great skills at that, and looking forward to see how she does, with the idea that somewhere down the road, after a 6-month interim or so, we'll talk about a hiring process for a library director. And so I'm excited for Patty and for the opportunity that she has. I think she'll do a good job in doing what we need to get done, and I don't expect any of this will affect any library services. In the meantime, we've got a great staff over there that knows libraries really well, so I expect that will continue. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Commissioner Gamache. Commissioner Meisner.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Well, to echo some of the sentiments of Commissioner Gamache, well, first of all, Patty Hetrick, I've really been an admirer of her work in finance, so I believe that she will do a great job in the interim. I'm just going to share a little bit what was discussed in the management meeting, which I was surprised that this fit kind of happened. And then just questions around, Maggie Snow gave her notice about 2 months ago, so was this always going to be an interim type of solution or not? So just something that I will be looking at as this process progresses. And then again, this is an interim situation, so after about, I'm told, 6 months, we will look at the permanent hiring process. And I look forward to what Patty will do in the meantime. Oh, and then the other thing that was discussed, Commissioner Gamache talked about our MOU, which is the Memorandum of Understanding, which happened in 2014. So a lot of this work is going to be not changing it, but re-examining what is it and the applications of that. And I do always think anytime you can examine a process or look for improvements is also a good thing. Thank you.
Further comments? Seeing none, the resolution has been moved and seconded. Seeing no further discussion, this is a roll call vote.
Commissioner Gamache,
Aye.
Commissioner Reinert, Commissioner Look,
Aye.
Commissioner West, Commissioner Schulte,
Aye.
Commissioner Meisner.
Aye.
And that passes.
And the rest is informational. That concludes my report.
Thank you. Next, we'll move on to the Transportation Committee Chair Report. We did have a meeting on February 14th. We did not have a quorum of the committee, so we just took all information under advisement and brought it forward to this meeting in the form of a chair's report. We have some action items for you. First, in the Highway Division, as the chair of the Transportation Committee, I recommend award of a contract in the amount of $4,640,012.04 to Forest Lake Contracting, who was the certified low bidder for the Hanson Boulevard reconstruction project from Northdale Boulevard north to Main Street in the city of Coon Rapids. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Moved by Commissioner Gamache. Is there a second? I'll second it, if you don't mind. And any further discussion? This is a big project. This runs right, Hanson Boulevard's been under construction for years, but this is kind of that heart, just north of Highway 10, where it backs up each and every day, both in the morning and in the afternoon. So it'll be a challenging year or so getting this project done. It will remain open to traffic through construction. There won't be a posted detour, but it will be a little slow crawling through there in a single lane most of the time, I would guess. So be prepared to find an alternate route if you use that route regularly. Any further discussion?
Mr. Chair.
Commissioner Gamache.
Thank you. Yeah, this is going to cause some headaches, but for those who have been traveling down Hanson Boulevard for the last couple of years, they're used to headaches, whether it was through Andover or whether it was through over the bridge down in Coon Rapids. So that's to be expected, I guess. But the final project, when it's all finished, will work in that area a lot better. We'll get traffic through faster. I think one of the things, and maybe Mr. McPherson can respond to it, is the timing of the lights is part of, I think, after we get all of these things done with the different left and right turn lanes and all these other things that are going to be added in, where we can keep a better timing of how the lights work to get traffic flowing early in the morning or later in the afternoon when people are coming home. So that's something I'm looking forward to, and I'm sure the residents are as well, because then it should help move traffic through that area. So looking forward to that as we add it to this project. Thank you.
Joe, would you care to comment on the timing of the lights? And I think it's called the Centrac system, or used to be called that.
Yeah, Mr. Chair, thank you. For those of you who don't know me, Joe McPherson, I'm a Transportation Division Manager, County Engineer. And so Commissioner Gamache is right on. In coordination with this project, we're actually going to complete an interconnect project where all of our signals along that corridor will be interconnected via fiber. So as you mentioned, we'll be able to connect and sync those signals so that as someone drives through the corridor, it essentially platoons the vehicles so that they can make it through a series of the signals instead of getting stopped at each one, which some of us experience along the 14 corridor next to the Riverdale Mall. So unfortunately, that one's a much more complicated timing issue there, but we're working on it. But this one, yes, you'll experience a much better commute through that area.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Seeing none, this is a roll call vote.
Commissioner Reinert,
Aye.
Commissioner Look,
Aye.
Commissioner West,
Aye.
Commissioner Schulte,
Aye.
Commissioner Meisner,
Aye.
Commissioner Gamache.
Aye.
And that passes. Commissioner Meisner.
I'm sorry. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Actually, I just had a question about what you just talked about. What's the grouping then? Because at some point you have to say this is the cutoff vehicle for the next stop light signal.
So, Mr. Chair, good question. So what I meant by that platooning is essentially what you'll experience when signals aren't coordinated is they'll be called to action based on side street calls. So if you got a lot of traffic on side streets, like you see at the Riverdale Mall, those cars will essentially call the signal to action. It'll cause a red light on the main corridor and then stop that traffic. And if they're not connected and you get a lot of calls on the side streets, it'll call each one of those signals to be read at random times. And so instead of controlling that and trying to stage it,
Yep.
it'll essentially cause red lights every time you come to a signal. And I think we've all been in that condition before. And so this will actually, it coordinates them all. So when you get a call, it helps coordinate each one of those signals. And it's a mathematic thing, a lot of details there, but essentially it helps you coordinate all those signals. So as you pass through, you may stop at the first and the fourth one, but not the first, second, third, and fourth.
Thank you.
Yeah.
All right, with that, as Chair of the Transportation Committee, I recommend award of a contract in the amount of $2,755,628.26 to North Pine Aggregate, who was the certified low bidder for the reconstruction of 125th Avenue from Aberdeen Street to Radisson Road in the city of Blaine. Is there a motion to approve?
Mr. Chairman, I'll move it.
It's been moved. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Look. I will comment that this is, in my opinion, the forgotten section of roadway. It's been expanded to the east and it's been expanded to the west. And this small chunk, expensive small chunk to fix, but has not been. It's been, I won't say it's been overlooked because we've talked about it a lot. It just never fell into the funding categories necessary to get funding. And so now we've moved it up our list of priorities and it's time. Commissioner West.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. One thing that you may notice if you drive it very often is there is no place to walk if you're a pedestrian. And that's going to be such a great improvement for the community because it's very dangerous. They walk it anyway, and it's very little shoulder. So I'm looking forward to that myself.
Like all of our transportation projects, they become ADA compliant when we do road work. So it's not only accessible for pedestrians, but those with some type of disability also can access all these projects that we do to make sure that they're ADA compliant. Any further comment?
Just
Commissioner Gamache.
Thank you. Quick question for Mr. McPherson. On the north side of that road, there's Hastings Avenue, I think it's called, and that one is still going to have access to 14, correct?
That is correct, Mr. Chair, Commissioner Gamache. That will have full access. It will not be signalized, but it will maintain full access. The nice thing is with this project, we're going to insert a median along the corridor and actually create a left turn base. So traffic going east or westbound, trying to make that left-hand movement, will now have safe refuge to sit in while they wait for their turn to make that movement.
Follow-up?
Yes.
I know I've had people talk to me about this in the past, and I think it was some requests from either one of those neighborhoods perhaps that wanted to see reduced speed limits, and I'm not exactly even sure what the speed limit is on that stretch after Radisson Road going up to 65 as you're heading westbound. But will we wait until after to determine the speed limit, or do we have an idea what that will be set at?
So, Mr. Chair, Commissioner Gamache, the speed limit is going to stay relatively the same through that corridor. It's between 40, well, it starts at 40 on the west side there by Aberdeen, and it transitions to a higher speed as you move east towards Radisson.
Okay.
So it does transition, but the speed limit will stay essentially the same, but with the safety features that will be included in the project, it should be a safer corridor.
Thank you.
Yep.
With that, I would comment, I think, and correct me if I'm wrong, Joe, but we don't get to set the speed limit anyways.
Yeah.
That's set by the state, and
Correct.
we can, if the municipality requests a change, we can submit to the state for a speed study. But more times than not, it comes back at the same speed or higher.
Correct.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, this is a roll call vote.
Commissioner Look,
Aye.
Commissioner West,
Aye.
Commissioner Schulte,
Aye.
Commissioner Meisner,
Aye.
Commissioner Gamache,
Aye.
Commissioner Reinert.
Aye.
And that passes. The rest of our items are informational. I will comment on our transit division, got our quarterly report on transit usage and some of the work they're doing to encourage transit use within the county. So that was our quarterly report. That was well received. With that, that does conclude my transportation report, and we will move on to the Finance and Capital Improvements Committee report. Commissioner Look.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The Finance and Capital Improvements Committee met on February 18th, not February 25th, as is indicated in the report here. On February 18th, we came away with a couple of action items, 3 of them. The first is that the committee recommends the county board approve contract C0007789 with Barnum Companies out of Forest Lake for the installation of the Anoka County Sheriff's Office North and South Gates for an amount of $247,670. And there's a contingency in there of $20,000 as well. This amount seems like a lot, but there are in fact 4 gates that are going to be installed. And unfortunately, when this project was conceived and built, it was not built with a gate that was suitable for northern Minnesota climates. And so as a result, there's been a lot of gate failures, and unfortunately, a facility such as this, when a gate fails, you have to prop it up, and therefore you have a non-secure facility essentially till the gate gets fixed. And so this is a critical project that needs to get done. You'll recall that we had to replace a generator as well out there because that was a secondary component that was not quite designed well for the project. So we're catching up on some of the things that were specified in this project that weren't quite heavy duty enough for the application. So
Thank you, Commissioner Look. Is there a motion to approve?
I'll move it.
Motion by Commissioner West. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Meisner. Comments? Commissioner Meisner.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And yeah, just to echo a little bit of what Commissioner Look was talking about, and having facilities be part of these kinds of discussions are going to be very cost-effective going forward, and they can actually recommend things that are truly appropriate. And then my only other comment is this is coming out of the building fund, so that is how this is being funded. Another, I want to say that dedicated fund was initiated by Commissioner Look a couple of years ago. Is there about $1 million in the building fund right now that this is coming out of, or?
Mr. Chair, we allocate 1.9 million annually to the building fund, and that's designed to be spent down
Right.
on projects such as this and others. And really, the goal was to, the previous plan was add up all the projects and bond for it, and we're going to talk a little bit about bonding here in a bit, but the current plan is to allocate a given amount of money, in this case 1.9 million, and allow facilities to scope out projects that need to be done as they become available. It could be 10 years to the 5-year to the 1-year plan. But basically to say, we know how long roofs are gonna last, we know how long parking lots are gonna last, and we're gonna budget those dollars to make sure we can get those projects done. More responsible way of managing.
Yeah.
Thank you. And I would take this opportunity to recognize our facilities team. Andrew and his staff do just a fabulous job. They treat everyone, every employee at Anoka County as a customer when you have an issue, and they do it, they generally do that with a pretty good smile on their face, which makes a difference. And projects like this, I mean, these go into the penny wise and pound foolish category. When this building was built, the sheriff's office, there was some penny wise decisions that were made, and it's costing us now. So we're double paying, in essence. Where if we'd have just paid a little bit more in the onset, we'd have been a little better off. Andrew's team is walking us through that. He's the one who's pointing out where the good stuff is, what we should be buying, still keeping track of the tax dollars our citizens entrust us with. So thank you, Andrew and your team. We appreciate your work, and we'll move forward with these gates if we get this vote to pass. I have a motion and a second on the floor. Is there further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? No, we'll do a roll call vote.
Commissioner West,
Aye.
Commissioner Schulte,
Aye.
Commissioner Meisner,
Aye.
Commissioner Gamache,
Aye.
Commissioner Reinert,
Aye.
Commissioner Look.
Aye.
And that passes.
Mr. Chair, item 2 is the committee recommends the county board adopt resolution 2020-F4, approving amendments to the Anoka County Financial Policies Section 1, which is the disbursement policy. And Minnesota State Statute 471.425 has established controls for disbursements, and our policy needs to come in line with that state statute. And this is essentially the rewriting of the policy to conform to that statute. Lots of fun.
Thank you. Commissioner Look, is there an offer of the resolution?
I will offer it.
The resolution's been offered. Further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? And that passes. Item 3.
Mr. Chair, item 3, this board will recall about 10 years ago, we had about $190 million in debt. And we've taken as far as a board goal in reducing debt whenever possible. And currently today, we have, I don't see Corey here, but about probably around the $70 million range. So we've done a great job of reducing debt where possible, and we believe that that's going to position us, with a better financial security. In doing that, we have opportunities such as item number 3, which is the committee recommends the county board adopt a resolution 2020-F5 providing for the prepayment and redemption of Anoka County outstanding general obligation airport improvement bonds, Series 2008D. And you'll see in your packet here that that we had an opportunity to carry these bonds to 2024. They are callable, which means we can pay them off early. And by doing so, we save approximately 126, just getting to it here, 126, $129,675. So those dollars are dollars that we would have paid otherwise if we had kept this bond into 2024, but seeing as it's callable, seeing as we have the cash to pay for it, it's responsible to do so, and this helps in reducing our overall debt amount and softening our budget for next year.
Is there an offer of the resolution?
I'll offer it.
Resolutions have been offered. Further discussion? I will just applaud the Finance Committee and the board for making these decisions. All of us would like to live a cash lifestyle and not a credit card lifestyle. And that's a goal of this board, is to get to that position. And I applaud Commissioner Look and his leadership on that. Seeing no further discussion, this is a roll call vote.
Commissioner West,
Aye.
Commissioner Schulte,
Aye.
Commissioner Meisner,
Aye.
Commissioner Gamache,
Aye.
Commissioner Reinert,
Aye.
Commissioner Look.
Aye.
And that item passes.
Mr. Chair, the rest is for informational items.
Thank you very much. And next, we will move on to the Human Services Committee report, and Commissioner Robin West.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. First item in behavioral health is to consider recommending the county board amend contract C0006890 with Lee Carlson Center for Mental Health and Wellbeing for community support program and housing navigation services for adults with serious and persistent mental illness, reducing the contract maximum from $234,919 to $211,159 from January 2019 through December 2020, and I'll move that.
There's a motion on the floor. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Meisner. Further discussion? Commissioner Meisner.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just to flesh this out a little bit, so this was a pilot program with the jail division, and so, or excuse me, jail diversion pilot. So even though that this didn't work out according, in the hopes, but I definitely commend us giving this a try and to pilot things like this, specifically in the jail systems. Thank you.
Thank you. Further discussion? Seeing none, this is a roll call vote.
Commissioner Schulte,
Aye.
Commissioner Meisner,
Aye.
Commissioner Gamache,
Aye.
Commissioner Reinert,
Aye.
Commissioner Look,
Aye.
Commissioner West.
Aye.
And that passes. Next item.
Number 2, in community corrections, consider recommending the county board enter into contract C0007794 with Midwest Monitoring and Surveillance, Inc. for electronic monitoring and remote alcohol testing services from March 1st, 2020 through February 28th, 2023.
Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
The item's been moved. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner West. Further discussion? Seeing none, this is a roll call vote.
Commissioner Meisner,
Aye.
Commissioner Gamache,
Aye.
Commissioner Reinert,
Aye.
Commissioner Look,
Aye.
Commissioner West,
Aye.
Commissioner Schulte.
Aye. And that item passes. Item 3.
Excuse me. We have resolution 2020 HS3. It's the economic assistance bills, and I will offer the
The
resolution.
resolution's been offered. Is there further discussion? Seeing none, this is a roll call vote.
Commissioner Gamache,
Aye.
Commissioner Reinert,
Aye.
Commissioner Look,
Aye.
Commissioner West,
Aye.
Commissioner Schulte,
Aye.
Commissioner Meisner.
Aye.
And that item passes.
And Mr. Chairman, the rest is informational. That concludes my report.
Thank you, Commissioner West. Next, we'll move on to the IT Committee report, and that will be Commissioner Gamache.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The IT Committee met on Tuesday, February 18th. We have just one action item. The IT Committee recommends the County Board approve a purchase from Insight Public Sector in the amount of $749,561.38 with a change order of $15,000 to implement the new county enterprise backup system. This system is needed because of the annual growth in data that our data rates that we are seeing right now. That's over 30%. Our current enterprise backup system has reached its maximum capacity. And as you probably know from our IT meetings in the past, our team tries to push that out as far as we possibly can before we go out and purchase a new one. So we've gotten to that point, and so this is needed. We're hoping, I think, Susan, to try to get to the end of 2020 before we had to do this, but we've come to the realization it's time to do it now. So I'll let Susan cover a little bit more of this. She's here from Susan Vreeland from our IT, and Susan, if you'd comment on what we're going to purchase here.
Yes, thank you. Good morning, Mr. Chair and members of the County Board. I'm Susan Vreeland, the Director of Information Technology. To add on, Commissioner Gamache, to what you said, I'm going to give you a little bit of a math formula. 1,914,029,841,632,000. That's the number of bytes of data that the county backs up and supports every single day. That number has gone up 300% since 2013, and it goes up about 30% a year. So that is a continuation of the increase of the more we get rid of this, the more data we have to back up. And so what we do on an annual basis and as a part of our capital improvement plan is look at when we have to replace that appliance or add more disk to that appliance to accommodate that growth. We did plan for in 2020 to look at replacing that appliance. We were looking at mid to third quarter to do that. Based on the amount of data that we're growing, we kind of took a look at it and said, we like a 30 to 60 day window before we have to look at replacing it. We really needed to move now. And so we started at the beginning of the year looking at what would be the best appliance, the best replacement approach, the most cost effective, and we landed on the proposal that's before you today.
Thank you.
I was thank you, Susan.
It's a big number.
Yes.
I did use a Google calculator. That's not rolling around in the brain, but we're using a formula now called petabytes because the data number is so long, but when you do the actual math, that's what that number totals up to now. So it truly is incredible.
And I know part of this, Mr. Chair, is besides increasing the capacity, it also helps us in fighting some of the attacks that are coming onto our system, and I know that's part of our major concern in the last few years is to make sure that we have that. So this modern enterprise backup system that we've chosen will help provide us with more security features to defend such attacks. So there's a few different things going on, but it's always to try to not only be able to store all this data, but then to protect it as well. I'll move it.
That is correct.
There's a motion on the floor. Is there a second? Second by Commissioner West. Further discussion?
Mr. Chairman.
Commissioner West.
Susan, I don't want to take too long, but isn't eventually some of the old information dropped, or is there a way stuff is automatically dropped if it's not required to hold on to it?
Yes, Commissioner, and there's two ways we go about that. One, so if this is all of the county's data, so if it's a data that's built into an application or into a retention system such as OnBase, we can work with the department to say a certain document can go away in a year or 2 years. If there's something in particular cases for the county's attorney's office example, it may need to stay forever. So that's one method. The other method is documents such as Excel files, Word files that are saved by a user, and that's really saved in your own what we call an iDrive. And that's where education really comes into play because we don't have automation to go into, for example, my iDrive and get rid of my old spreadsheets or my old Word files. But if we can educate the users to say, you know, those documents you haven't used for 2, 3, 4, 5 years, if there's not a legislative or other requirement for you to retain that, let it go because there's no need for that. And I think our users are better educated now to know that who wants all that old junk? You know, it's kind of like the front of your iPad, your desktop. You don't need all that extra stuff gunking it up. And so our users have been very proactive in helping to eliminate, those extra files.
Okay, thanks.
Further comments? Commissioner Reinert and Commissioner Meisner.
Mr. Chair, yeah, so $750,000, that's quite a number, but I think we all understand with the increased use in technology and data and that, there needs to be larger capacity as time goes on, and, I'll refer to your recommendation on this, but, what I wonder is the longevity of this purchase, and, have you looked into the future of, how much more expenditure we can expect in the future as, it's going to continue, the use and growth of technology and storage of data.
Certainly, Mr. Chair, Commissioner Reinert. So this particular replacement, the appliance we're replacing, we purchased in 2015. We added disk space to it approximately a year and a half ago to extend the life of that. This particular replacement, we looked at 3 options. One was about $100,000 less. We didn't see much shelf life there. The other replacement we looked at was about $170,000 more. We looked at it as kind of being in excess. This particular replacement is actually not one appliance like it has been in the past, it's 2. We did that for a couple of reasons. One, we can take some of the disk space from our old appliance, or 2015 old, and we will be able to reuse that at some point on the new appliance, so we're getting some use from the old onto the new. The other changes, Commissioner, and that's what makes this a little more challenging. One thing you'll hear, Commissioner Reinert, that I've brought up in the past is a lot of our technologies, the manufacturers are going to a more of a subscription model around the technology, and a lot of the cost is no longer the hardware but the software. So in the event of this particular purchase, the hardware is only about $160,000 of the solution. The rest is all software. So the challenge we're finding is not so much spending less on the pieces or the parts, but the technology behind running the hardware continues to increase and is in a subscription model. So it is becoming more challenging to meet what you're asking, but certainly we have to be proactive, and that the sky is not the limit and the data growth is not going to end. So how do we deal with that? One of the things we are looking at is technologies known as data compression, which this backup system does allow for. So taking data that looks like this and trying to make it go like this. In the event of a backup or a restore, it can take a little long, but as long as we're not restoring large amounts of data, we can still operate under that model. So that's one opportunity we're looking at. One area that we're struggling with a little bit, but we know all of our partners in other counties is video storage. So video storage continues to grow. The technology around compressing that data really isn't there yet. And so we're looking at, as that technology stack grows, how do we deal with backing up that data in a means that doesn't put us in a position where I'm coming back in 3 years and looking for $1 million or $1.2 million to do the same thing. So we're very proactive in how do we manage what's going to continue to increase in a very cost-effective manner. I hope that helps.
It does. It sounds a little monopolistic, I guess, of some of these companies out there, and seeing the growth potential and then profit potential in, just our need to have to do this. And so, I would hope that there would be other solutions, and maybe some entrepreneurial minds out there can come up with a better solution. But it's a big number, and like I said, I'll defer to your knowledge and advice on this. But I guess we would be proactive in looking for other solutions going forward.
Thank you. Commissioner Meisner.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Well, first of all, my mind does not comprehend the number that you gave and that it increases 30%. And then just to kind of go off to what Commissioner Reinhardt is talking about, I mean, besides, right, so it's increasing 30%, might be more. The only thing that is, I think, predictable when it comes to cybersecurity is that it will increase in demand, in demand and cost. So I think that's just, unfortunately, probably a given for this board, is just to kind of have that understanding and do the best that we can. I know you do an excellent job at being cost effective and truly figuring out what is the best solution price-wise for this, but it's a tough position for your department to be in as it continuously changes.
It is. Thank you.
We have a motion and a second before us. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, this is a roll call vote.
Commissioner Reinert,
Aye.
Commissioner Look,
Aye.
Commissioner West,
Aye.
Commissioner Schulte,
Aye.
Commissioner Meisner,
Aye.
Commissioner Gamache.
Aye.
That item passes.
And Mr. Chair, the rest are informational items, so that concludes my report.
Well, excellent. Seeing as your microphone's hot, why don't we keep you on as the Parks Committee Chair report.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The This is the chair report, and we're recommending to the county board to adopt resolution 2020-PRK04, supporting a grant application to the Minnesota Department of Natural Resources for the Federal Recreational Trail Program. This comes from a group called the Snow Ghosts, which is a local snowmobile club in Anoka County, and they have requested that we put in for this grant for replacement of their 2001 Tucker groomer. The new groomer, which they would use, would provide long-term maintenance capability of its local snowmobile trails. And how many miles of trails do they do? This includes over 70 miles of state grant and aid trails. So there's quite a few miles of trails that they are keeping up in the wintertime, and probably would be using a groomer should we get that March snowstorm that always comes around high school hockey tournament time. So they're asking for us to do this. And Jeff, did you want to add any more to what we're going to be doing for the Snowmobile Club?
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. My name is Jeff Perry, Park Director for Anoka County. The only thing I would add is there's no county funding involved in this proposal here. It's just supporting one of the local snowmobile trails that traverses from Ramsey up through Nowthen through St. Francis, Commissioner Look's district, and yeah, we're just being a good sponsor and supporting the local club in this application for federal trail grant money.
Thank you, Jeff. And I know I've been on those trails in past years, and they do a really good job of keeping them nicely groomed and helping people get up to that area, coming off the river when it's when you can ride on the river, and then getting all the way up to St. Francis. So they do a great job, and we're hoping to help them out by just, again, it's not county dollars. We're looking to just do the grant for them so that they could receive these grant dollars.
Commissioner Look.
Mr. Chair, thank you. I just want to just clarify, this is a grant that they cannot apply for, but we have to apply for on their behalf. So they wouldn't otherwise be able to get the grant if not for our application. So we certainly want to help them out on this. But I do want to just say I'm thankful for this group and their enthusiasm and their volunteerism. And I mean, these people put countless hours into their sport, their love of sport. And as Minnesota winters get a little long at times, having the ability to get out and snowmobile and enjoy the winters is just I think it's an amenity to our people here in Anoka County. So again, thankful for their hard work and very happy to support them in this grant application.
Is that an offer of the resolution,
I'll
Commissioner?
offer it.
Commissioner Look has offered the resolution. Is there further discussion? Seeing none, this is a roll call vote.
Commissioner Look.
Aye.
Commissioner West.
Aye.
Commissioner Schulte.
Aye.
Commissioner Meisner.
Aye.
Commissioner Gamache.
Aye.
Commissioner Reiner.
Aye.
That item passes.
And that concludes my report, Mr. Chair. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Gamache. That will take us to the Public Safety Committee report. And I will be delivering that report to you today. We met on February 18th here in the Government Center. And we've got an action item under the Sheriff's Division. The Public Safety Committee recommends approval and execution of the State of Minnesota Human Trafficking Investigators Task Force Joint Powers Agreement between the State of Minnesota, acting through the Bureau of Criminal Apprehension and the County of Anoka on behalf of its Sheriff's Office for a term of 5 years and a maximum value of $18,642. I will move it. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner West. Commissioner Look.
Mr. Chair, $18,000 for human trafficking. I think the state needs to take a harder look at this issue. That's my only comment.
I couldn't agree more. I think this is a starting point, and hopefully it will evolve into something more than this.
Right.
We've had success with our drug task force in years past and escalating its grants as time went on. We also had a auto theft task force, and a number of those have been very successful. So hopefully this follows in those footsteps.
If I can comment, Mr.
Please.
Chair, I'm thankful to the sheriff for his multiplying the dollars for the amount of work he's doing. I mean, he's doing a lot of work for $18,000, and just appreciate his effort in this, and Godspeed in catching every one of them.
Thank you, Commissioner Look. I think we all share your sentiments there. Any further discussion? Seeing none, this is a roll call vote.
Commissioner West,
Aye.
Commissioner Schulte,
Aye.
Commissioner Meisner,
Aye.
Commissioner Gamache,
Aye.
Commissioner Reinert,
Aye.
Commissioner Look.
Aye.
And that item passes. Next, under Emergency Management, the Public Safety Committee recommends adoption of a resolution accepting dedicated donations from North Memorial Health. And I will offer the resolution. Is there any further discussion? Commissioner Meisner?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just that I am very glad to see this. I believe this is the first vehicle that we will have of its kind. And so thank you.
Yes, and it's a retiring ambulance with about, I believe, 200,000 miles on it, but still in really good condition. And Terry Stoltzman, our emergency manager, has looked at it, talked to him, talked to the maintenance people in our highway division, and have looked at it and said that it won't necessarily be an encumbrance to us. We always need to think about that long-term tails when you buy something like this, is when does it need a differential, a transmission, an engine, and you know, what type of maintenance headache does it become? I asked some of those questions at the public safety meeting, and I broached the question of, you know, could we get grants as time goes on to repair it? And the answer was no, you can't, because we're acquiring this and buying it, or getting it. We're acquiring it without grant dollars, therefore grant dollars can't be used to maintain it. But that being said, this will become a mobile PSAP, Public Safety Answering Point, 911 facility in case of emergencies or drills, trainings, that type of thing. Commissioner Meisner?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Yes, and to that point, as special events become more and more popular in Anoka County, this is where it's really going to be helpful.
Thank you. The resolution's on the floor. Seeing no further discussion, this is a roll call vote.
Commissioner West,
Aye.
Commissioner Schulte,
Aye.
Commissioner Meisner,
Aye.
Commissioner Gamache,
Aye.
Commissioner Reinert,
Aye.
Commissioner Look.
Aye.
That item passes. Secondly, under Emergency Management, the Public Safety Committee recommends approval for Anoka County Administration to implement and contract the BOLD Planning Online Planning System. And this is a business continuity plan that would take us through any catastrophes, or if we're ever down for any reason and we have to have a business continuity plan. This is an online planning system that we can embrace. This is something we've been working on for a number of years to figure out the best way to do a business continuity plan. And this is the plan we're going to sign up for, if you so choose today to pass this. So I'm looking for a motion to approve and contract the BOLD Planning Online Planning System.
I'll move it.
Motion by Commissioner West. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Meisner. Further discussion? Seeing none. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? And that will pass unanimous, and that completes our committee work. Next, we will move on to item 9, which is consider appointments by the county board to the following metro boards, commissions, and committees for the remainder of program year 2020. Just as a point of reference, we normally go through this process once a year. And this year, we are doing it twice, because we did it in January, as was necessary, and now with the new commissioner on board, we need to divvy up assignments so everybody's carrying their fair share. So, item 9A, B, I think just item 9A and B, we'll need a motion and a second, and we'll need to vote on that. So is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Motion by Commissioner Reinert. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Gamache. Any discussion on that? Seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Excellent. We'll move on to item 10 then. These are appointments by myself to committees, so we will not need to vote on this, but you can see which committees you are on and what particular areas you will be in charge of. I did have conversations with most of you about what you were willing to give up and what you were willing to accept. And so you'll see there what has transpired. It shouldn't be eye-opening to anybody, because I think we had all the conversations. Next, we will move on to item 11. Again, these are appointments by the chair, so there will be no vote, but this is the special topics committees. And you can go through those. If you have any questions along the way, don't hesitate to ask now or later, whatever works better for you. Next, we will move on to item 12. On this one, these are recommended appointments, so we will be voting on these. This is item 12. And with that, I'll look for a motion on item 12. Motion by Commissioner Gamache. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Reinert. Further discussion? Seeing none, those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? That's a unanimous vote. We will move on to 13. And this is for the Regional Rail Authority. All 7 members of the county board will be appointed to the Regional Rail Authority, and we'll need a motion for that.
So moved.
Moved by Commissioner Look. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner West. Any discussion? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? All right, you are now all Regional Rail Authority members. And then for recommended county board appointments to the community consortiums, you will see we added in there this year East Central Creating Community and Centennial Community Network and Centennial Community Services. Commissioner Reinert, you'll be serving there, seeing as it's mostly your area. And then Commissioner West, you'll be at the East Central Creating Community. And Commissioner Look and Gamache will both be part of the Youth First group again. So I'll need a motion for that.
So moved.
Motion by Commissioner Gamache. Is there a second?
And second. Oh.
Second by Commissioner Reinert. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Another unanimous vote. Item 15, these are county board appointments or nominations to the Association of Minnesota Counties for the remainder of the year. There are 10 delegates. You will see all the commissioners listed, along with the county administrator, the transportation division manager, and the human services division manager. They're all voting delegates for the Association of Minnesota Counties. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Moved by Commissioner Look. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Meisner. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed? That will pass. Next, we will do the Board of Directors for AMC. They are currently Commissioner West with Commissioner Brasted as an alternate. And we will take B, C, and D together. C is the District 10 Executive Committee, which would be the same as West and Brasted as alternate, and then appointments to policy committees. We've not listed these out before in the past, but I thought it was appropriate that we do so everybody has a good idea what policy steering committee you should be attending and bringing information back to this board as to how that steering committee sees things. Commissioner Gamache, Environment and Natural Resources, Commissioner West, General Government, and Health and Human Services, Commissioner Meisner and Reinert, and then Commissioner Brasted, Public Safety, and then myself and Commissioner Look for Transportation and Infrastructure. You'll see that there are 2 commissioners because most counties have 5 commissioners, so there's 1 commissioner from each, on each committee from each county. But there's a few of us counties that have 7 commissioners, and so we've determined years ago to double up on basically interest categories. Health and Human Services is one of our biggest committees here, spends the most money, does a lot of work, so we thought it was important. And transportation, same way. It's a big committee and has a big impact on our county, so we have two commissioners on there. Is there a motion and a second for 15B, C, and D?
So moved.
Moved by Commissioner West, second by Commissioner Gamache. Further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed? That'll pass. Next, the National Association of Counties, item 16. These are voting delegates to the NACO conference. I will be the delegate. My first alternate will be Commissioner West, and Commissioner Gamache will be the second alternate. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Moved by everybody, seconded by everybody. Moved by Commissioner Gamache, second by Commissioner Look. Further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? That passes. Item 17, this is County Board appointments to the HRA. We have one today, and that is Commissioner Reinert. We will be appointing him with a term expiring December 31st of 2022, which should be, well, that would be assuming you're reelected in November. If you are, this is when your term would expire. And the rest are for informational only because they've already been appointed. So I need a motion to appoint Commissioner Jeff Reinert to the HRA.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Commissioner Look, second by Commissioner West. Further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? That motion carries. And lastly, item 18, this is the Anoka County Canvassing Board that is made up of commissioners who are not up for election in the calendar year 2020, and they are Scott Schulte, Mandy Meisner, and Mike Gamache as the alternate. And I need a motion to approve. Moved by Commissioner Gamache. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Meisner. Further discussion? Commissioner Meisner.
Just commentary. Again, I would like to thank Chair Schulte for taking time to speak with us before these were assigned. I appreciate that. And that's all.
Thank you. Any further discussion? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? That passes. Anything else to come before the county board this morning? We are adjourned. Thank you all.
All right.
And I believe we have a railroad authority